and to also support, ties in with the healthcare stuff, about the mental illness stuff, because people are painting people with mental illness in the wrong type of light. And I think it's not fair to people with mental illness to assume that they're the ones that are going to go out and kill everybody. So I definitely want to wrap that up and stop having that be spread about in a negative way for those types of folks.
Minnesota has some of the strongest requirements for concealed carry law. We see a national movement to force concealed carry reciprocity, which would allow states with shall issue type edicts to cross state lines and come into Minnesota carrying their concealed weapons when they haven't had basic training background checks. So I think to some extent our relatively strong laws are working, and I condemn Matt Grossel and his vote to table legislation on red flags and universal background checks recently.
Do you support limits in rural counties for wetland banks as a percentage of total land mass? Do you support limits in rural counties for wetland banks as a percentage of the total land mass?
No. And a powerful reason for not doing that in our area is that we've got extensive wetlands in our counties. And to have the same small percentage preserved as you might find in Sherburne County or areas that aren't full of wetlands, we would lose a lot of wildlands and wetlands if Beltrami County or Lake of the Woods would have the same standard that applies to Blue Earth County or Otter Tail County.
I'm a member of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe enrolled in the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, and the reservation that I live in is over 2/3 water, lakes, rivers, and wetlands. And I definitely oppose anything that has to do with reducing our area of our wetlands or affecting them in any way. Even though this area was set aside specifically because it was wetland and undevelopable, that was purposely. We have taken full advantage of it, and we have enjoyed it. And we work really hard as a community and as a tribe to protect it. And that's what I want to continue to do for all of our ecological systems.
These are two different questions again, but they're both good questions, so I'll read them one after the other. Will you represent women's right to access abortion?
Yeah, I support all women's rights. Women's rights to choose and determine the things that matter to themselves. I don't claim control over any women, or men for that matter. I've raised my daughter to be a strong woman, to make her own choices and accept those responsibilities of her choices. And my wife is the same way. That's why I married her. So my wife is the stepmother to my daughter, and so before we met, I was raising my daughter on my own, and being the mom and the dad for a child, I think is one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given in my life. And the last thing I want to do is tell my daughter how to be a woman.
Yes.
Will you support a single-payer health system?
Yes.
Yes.
In light of recent horrific shootings in schools and other places, what is your stance on gun control? Kind of covered that. Will you support a ban on assault weapons?
Definitely. Assault weapons. is something totally different than we need as Minnesotans to be able to do the hunting that we so dearly love and hold close to our hearts. I know, like I said, I'm a family of hunters, historically, I guess you could say. And, you know, hunting and fishing and gathering is something that, that I think is not just important for me and tribal people, but for everybody here in Minnesota and everybody in the district. If you guys don't do it, I encourage you to get up and do it. Come with me this summer and go pick some berries even.
I would support a ban on military-style assault weapons, whether that's here in the state of Minnesota or I would lobby for that. In fact, I have lobbied for that in the past, and I have lobbied along with Moms Command Action and every town for against the concealed carry reciprocity laws. And I have an idea of my own that I think deserves consideration, and I think that a lot of the mass shooters would probably fit a profile that would be easy to catch, right? Anyone going in and buying a large quantity of the high-velocity ammunition that a lot of these shooters have used, that there should be a simple follow-up. You know, if you have suddenly bought a few thousand rounds of 223 high-velocity ammunition, I think it'd be appropriate for a local sheriff's deputy to follow up and ask where you're using that and how you intend to use it. But not a control. You know, I think just a follow-up and a check. You know, are you shipping that abroad to support a foreign conflict? Are you using it in range? What's your time?
I think this is their last question.
So this is the last question. Sergeant will be to you first. Healthcare and drug policy. Would you support Minnesota state legislation for the legalization of medicinal or recreational marijuana use?
It's not a personal priority, but it's in the state party platform, and I will support it.
Yes.
Yeah, time's up, so thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna have our-